Hello friends. Today I wanted to bring you just a quick little video showing you a new workflow for something I've just gotten into a little bit in Instagram photography world, like trying to find something a little different, not looking to change the world or anything like that. My whole life I've been into like knives and like, tactile things that you can touch and feel, just stuff that like you can carry in your pockets, not just knives, but just like watches. I just got this for my second wedding anniversary this week. Just stuff that kind of you just love, that it talks a little bit about your personality. So watches, and maybe it's even like your AirPods or something like that, but just cool little things that you just everyday carry. That's the whole kind of term if you're not into that on Instagram or on YouTube. There's a whole kind of world of everyday carry, EDC. A lot of it is like knives and guns and stuff like that, but I'm gonna really focus on trying to just make my photography better. I've never really done product photography before. So in this video, I'm gonna go over my workflow for how I kind of have my whole office set up here. It looks a little crazy. This office has been used for so many different things over the few years I've been here. But the workflow for how I take the photos right here at this little work area, and how I instantly get the photos onto Lightroom in my computer, and then how I'm actually doing something a little bit different with this Instagram account, where instead of it just sharing photos, I'm taking, since Instagram likes 4x5 or 4x3, using that vertical space. I have a A7S III up here, and I am just doing like short, it's filming in like a vertical format. I'm just filming me with this block of wood that I customized. So I'm not gonna use this thing all the time, but a top-down view of me, like maybe holding up the knife, opening the knife, just kind of touching it, like looking around the knife, showing the angles off of it. I mean, look at a lot of the work and craftsmanship that goes into these things is really impressive. The bearing there, I mean, it's just amazing. And things like the blade shape and stuff. If you're not into knives, I'm learning all this new language that I haven't ever paid attention to before. I felt like it would be cool to show in video format. So I'm doing something a little bit different with it, and I'm gonna show you on my computer here. But I wanna show you the workflow first. I'm not gonna get into the nitty-gritty of how to edit and all that kind of stuff. Maybe we'll do that a different time. But in this video, I just wanted to show you the workflow of how I get stuff that I shoot here directly onto my computer. I do have to brag on this piece of wood really quick, just because I bought this at a woodcraft store, and it had, I guess what they do is they put wax all over these pieces of wood like this that they sell. It was like 30 bucks or something like that. And the wax, I guess, keeps it sealed so that it doesn't crack and stuff like that. So I had to learn, I haven't sandpapered anything in a long time. Thankfully, we had an electric sander, used 80 grit, got all that wax off. It took so many pieces of 80 grit paper to do it on all sides. Then it left it with this light color. It was like a light colored wood, but when I would wet the piece of wood, it would be this dark color. So I went in and asked them, how do I get it to stay this color? And it's not a stain, it's actually some sort of a, lacquer is probably not the right word, but it was like this clear liquid that he told me to use coffee filters and apply it to this thing. And I did a few coats, and it has this beautiful dark wood color. You can see the cracks on this side. So the whole time in my mind, I'm thinking photography with this thing, right? So you'll see some of the photos I've used it for, and things are coming out really nice with it. I'm really liking it. So I just wanted to brag on myself with that piece of wood, because I haven't done something with my hands like that in some time. Essentially what I'm doing is I have my A7R4, and I have it tethered using a Tether Tools cable, USB-C to USB-C into the back of my iMac. This is called a jerk stopper, and that keeps the tension off of the port on your camera, so that way you're not hurting the port. So if anything gets jerked around, it doesn't jerk this out of the port. It'll stop it right here. And then you can detach this with this little clip right here. So anytime I'm taking my photos, let's say I've got this is my next project here. This is the WeGava knife that I just got recently. Beautiful knife, and I want to do the product photography, and that's what I'm learning to get better at is product photography, flat lay, that type of stuff. So I would have it right here, whatever the backdrop is that I'm going for, whether it's using the piece of wood. I think for this guy, I'm just gonna do a little bit of light. I've been loving using the Aperture MCs. So I'm just adding a little, not in blue for sure. Hitting it with a little bit of light right here. And then I've got another one over here, hitting it with a little rim light action. Just a little catch on there. And I also have the Aperture 300D right here using a Westcott Rapid Box. But I'm mostly using these guys, and I use that just to get a little extra light. I think let me start a session on Lightroom actually. And for those of you that are wondering, how are you getting a Sony camera to tether into Lightroom? I'll save that for the end of the video for anyone that's interested, because Lightroom does not directly integrate Sony cameras for tethering. So there's a plugin, and I'll talk about that at the end. All right, so we've got my session started. So now here I am sitting at essentially at my desk, and then this is like a side desk. It's on a hydraulic system that goes up and down. It's really cool. That way I can stand over top of it and get flat lay very easily if I want to. As I'm taking the photo, I can see what it's gonna look like immediately. And then Lightroom has this cool feature to where you can tell it to use whatever settings the previous photo had on your next capture. So I can go ahead and like edit the photo to be kind of how I want, even though if that's not the exact photo that I want. And every photo I take will already have the presets on there, the vignette, the crop, everything that I'm looking for will already be on there. So I love that. So I can really see if like this photo's working or not, this angle's working or not, that amount of light, that hair light, all that kind of stuff is working immediately. If we're using the WeGava here, just really quick too, I've got this M-E-K, is it M-E-I-K-E? I'll link this down below. It essentially, it comes with two of them. One is a 16 millimeter and then one is a 10 millimeter. And essentially these guys turn any lens that you have into a macro lens. So like you're getting like close onto the product and you're getting some nice macro shots. It's not perfect. I don't have a macro lens, so these are great for me. But sometimes I don't like using them because they add a lot of bokeh and stuff like that. But let's see what we can get here. This isn't going to be the best picture, but just so you can kind of get an example of what I'm going for. So you can see it's popping right up in Lightroom for me, exactly what I'm looking for. And then I can go ahead and let me throw on a previous like edit to this one. So I'm going to sync those two. It's going to develop here. Bam. So let me fix. So I'm using a 4x5 crop as that seems to be what Instagram. That way you're using up the most real estate on Instagram. So as people are scrolling, they have to scroll for longer to get past your photo. If you're doing everything wide or 1x1, then you're not utilizing all the real estate that you could. So that's kind of the goal that I'm going for. And I'm actually using the same crop for the videos, which I'll talk about in a second, of how I'm integrating video in with my Instagram posts. I'm trying to make this as engaging as possible. I'm just trying to have fun with this, something new and different that I've never done before. So let me finish cropping out this guy. So you can see this photo obviously needs work. The radial filter that I've got on here is not quite right. It's a little too bright. I haven't really shot with this as my backdrop yet. I'm just gonna get this photo looking ish to where I want it to be. I usually take a lot more time on these, but for the sake of this video, we'll just kind of get it somewhere where we like it. And then I'm using a LUT, or not a LUT, a preset on the photo. And it's I'm trying to go for like a slightly desaturated, dark and moody kind of feel. So on this, I would take out, I try not to go into Photoshop if I don't have to. I mean, I will, I like using Photoshop, but I try to keep the workflow as easy as possible, but sometimes you're just gonna have to go into Photoshop. So I'm just using spot removal, just getting rid of a couple things. I don't know how I feel about these. All right, so that's good enough. So now, as you can see right here, it says develop settings. It says I have it set to same as previous. So now every photo that I take after this photo, it'll immediately already have every setting that I just put on it. So I need to make sure that it doesn't have all the spot removal on there. But let's test that. So let me take another photo really quick. Let's open the blade up. This is like a flipper knife. So you just press on. It's a flipper and it's a frame lock. So you flip it out with the back right here. It's not automatic or anything like that. It's not a slip joint where you can pull the knife out by itself, but it's got a frame lock. So now the frame is locking in the blade so it doesn't move. A little bit of knife knowledge for you. And I do shoot portrait. I could shoot like this and just do the cropping later, which I might try messing with that a little bit, but lately I've just been trying to get it as close as possible whenever I'm actually shooting. So I try and keep that in mind so I don't get too tight, because if I get too close, whenever it goes to the 4x3, I keep forgetting, is it 4x3 or 4x5? 4x5, when it crops to the 4x5, I don't want to lose real estate, so I try to shoot a little bit back. So I'm going to focus just on the We here. This is their logo. Whenever I went to Joann's Fabric and bought a bunch of like these different types of felt type stuff back here, just to use as backdrops, the stuff to make it a little more interesting, because all the stuff you have around doesn't matter. It's just whatever you have in this small space where you're shooting, right? So that's why I've got this black. This was $1 at the dollar store. This black like poster board. I've got white ones. I've got another piece of stuff. I went on Amazon and bought, like, you just look for photo backdrops, and they're pretty small. It's only about this big. The only problem with them is they came rolled up, so they're really rolled, so I have to tape them down everywhere I put them. But now, as I go through my life in the world, my eye is going to be looking for little things that I could be grabbing to add to my photos. let me show a photo right now. I bought one of Peter McKinnon. If you don't know, he has another, it's like a company called Pete's Pirate Life. I bought some of his dice, and they come in this nice little leather pouch. And I happened to, when I was at Joann's, I happened across these little magnets. They were like $3. And I didn't realize how useful they were gonna be. I actually used them in this photo that you're seeing right now. But they're also really handy to put on the back of knives and whatever else to try and get a little bit of lift out of the knife off of, that way it's not just flat on the table. So you can see right here, I've got it to where it's nice and flat, or it's giving it an angle here that I wouldn't be able to do if I didn't just put the magnet on the back of the knife. Pretty cool, right? So now I've kind of got my knife where I want it. I'm looking at what this backlight's doing. Sometimes I don't use the aperture light, but I don't mind it giving me a little extra light. I don't want too much noise and have to bump my ISO too high. And sometimes I have to actually go kind of high, stop down a lot on the aperture, because I want to get more of the product in frame, or in focus, I should say. But now let me just try and I want to get that Wii logo really nice and shiny and get a little bit of the knife in there. So I've got my magnets on the back. I'm not doing too much dressing of the photo right now. I didn't mean to get so technical with this video, but I'm gonna get just a nice shot of the Wii logo there. And see, without these macros, I have to get about this far back before it'll focus. If I get too close, it won't focus. So that's why those are kind of nice. I just don't feel like turning my camera off right now. So, all right, so keeping in mind that 4x5. Gonna get like right here. I'm using the small focal point, that way I'm hitting exactly what I want. Bam, right on my computer, I'm seeing more or less what the photo could look like. So, what is that? Oh, so it did bring over the spot removals. So let's just reset those. All right. And then I would just get my crop right, whatever I want. You know, these aren't my banger photos that I'm looking for, but I'm just trying to give you an idea of the workflow. So I guess I'm gonna have to get more of these boards. I kind of like the texture that it's adding with as I put creases and cracks in the board, but anyway, I've got my vignette on there a good bit. Okay, so that's enough about that. You kind of get the idea of what I'm doing with that. And I'm keeping some, I guess you could just use one of your rocket blowers for your camera. I'm just keeping this around to kind of blow it off so I don't get so much dust on the products as I'm shooting. Got a little wipey thing, actually came with the Wii knife with the GAVA. Pretty cool. So I've got a lot of knives here. Got some Benchmade bug outs to take photos of still. The smaller one here. I'm thinking, I also have, if you see over there, I have a bunch of Theory 11 playing cards. So I'm gonna try some different photo shoots with those. You might have actually seen one of Peter McKinnon's videos where he did with the Star Wars ones. Really awesome stuff. I have a white deck of Star Wars cards, and this is kind of like a Stormtrooper Benchmade bug out. So I'm thinking of trying something with that. So I would love for you to follow me on Touch Feel Carry and just let me know what you think of it. So now I'm gonna move into the video portion of what I'm doing. This is the thing I'm trying to do to maybe differentiate myself a little bit with this Instagram account. So you can see right here, I have the A7S III. I have it on a Strobe Pro 16-foot booming light stand. And then I've got a counterbalanced sandbag on the back end. I use rocks in my sandbags, fun fact. I have another sandbag right here just to make sure everything's safe. I'm making sure everything's locked down. I've got the S3 in a small rig cage. That way I had a plate to attach the bottom to. I can show you right here. That way I'm attaching it right here. This cage is awesome, by the way. Just making sure everything stays nice and tight. And then I have the, so I'm going for what the Touch Feel Carry Instagram name. I'm trying to show off a little more of the product than just the photo. So I'm like, this knife, I actually unboxed it because I just got it in the mail the other day. But like, I'm actually have this set at a vertical. I'm staying at that 4x5. I'm filming the whole video of what I do, whether I use this block of wood or whatever. I'm opening and closing the knife. I'm showing the cool features of the knife, something like how retentive is the carry clip on it. Just kind of stuff that I would like to know more about the knife if I was watching this video. Giving people a little more information than just a flat 2D photo for a knife before you buy it. I mean, I'm not making any money on this, but I just thought this was a really cool knife to do this with. So, but what I'm doing, and let me show you. Oh, and then just so you know, I'm using the Rode NTG5 microphone. I've got it pretty close. It's a little ASMR-y, but I'm actually adding some music to it, some ambient music, some stuff that just kind of makes you feel good while you listen to it. These videos are only about a minute long. And then I'm plugging the NTG5 into the Sony K3M that is on the A7S III, and that just goes directly into the video file, so I don't have to sync all that later. Again, trying to keep this workflow as simple as possible. And then one cool thing that I do sometimes is I'll take the Tether Tools cable out of here, plug it into the A7S III, and then now I can just download the photo into Final Cut, and I never had to take SD cards out or any of that. And then I have this Sony remote. So since this thing is a little bit wobbly, if I were to touch it, you can see if you touch it at all, it kind of wobbles. So if I'm trying to fiddle with the record button and stuff like that, it gets a little tough. Oh, and then one cool thing that I did was I got the Atomos Shinobi right here. So that's connected to the HDMI port in the A7S III. I had it up here before, but I was having to like touch stuff while I was looking up, and it wasn't very fun. So I put it down here, and while it's recording, I can see exactly what the camera's picking up right in front of me. Really nice and simple, and I'm really happy with how this is turning out. But I'll link this remote down below. You can just hit record, boom, and it starts recording. You have to just make sure that your IR remote setting is turned on your Sony camera, and this thing will work. You can change your menu setting. So if maybe I wanted to change the menu setting, I have the flip out screen right there. I can see all my settings and stuff like that, and it works perfectly. So I definitely recommend getting one of these remotes if you are a Sony shooter. Man, I wish I was using the A7S III so I could actually see what I'm filming right now. Now I'm going to show you in Final Cut what it is that I'm doing with these videos for Instagram. So essentially the first step is I'm editing, making sure that I have the photo of the product edited first. And then I'm putting that at the very front for a couple seconds of the video file. And I have the project set to 4x5. That way the video and the photos are all the same. No matter how many photos I add to the carousel in Instagram, they're all the same. The reason that I'm putting the photo first is that way whenever it shows up on Instagram as the thumbnail, it looks just like the photo. It's just a photo in your grid, but it's actually a video file. That way you're not having to come up with a a good, like find a good spot within your video to be the thumbnail, because a lot of times that's what happens with videos, is they just look like whatever on your grid because you didn't have a good thumbnail spot. So that way I'm keeping the grid looking nice and uniform, and then also it'll get people's attention a little bit more if it's a good, highly edited, nice looking photo. So I have that here, and then let me just hit play, doing a slow zoom in, and then boom, it goes to the overhead shot. I'm recording these in S-Log3 on the A7S III. I'm trying to find the look for the video to look similar to the photo preset, the edit that I have. I'm not there yet. I'm trying to figure it out. I need to look at some more LUTs and get a little bit better with my own color grading, but I think it's doing the job so far. So this is the first video that I did. This is for the Boker Stubby. Really nice knife. And then it's only about a minute or less. That way you can share it on your timeline without it having to be an IGTV video. I'm not doing like a review or anything like that. Just some nice ambient, catchy like music that just makes you feel good. You know, I have the mic nice and close so that you can kind of hear giving people a little bit more of a sensory feel of what the knife looks like. And it won't just be knife. I'll do it with the cards. I'll do it with all kinds, whatever the product is that I'm using. And just giving a little bit more extra feel to whatever the product is. So I hope that you found this helpful. I would appreciate you liking and subscribing if you found this helpful. For those of you that are the Sony shooters that are wondering how I'm tethering to the computer, let me tell you that now. Okay, so in front of Lightroom here on my computer screen, you see something called Smart Shooter 4. This is a Tether Tools plugin that you purchase. I can't remember how much it was. I'm sorry. I'll link the links below. But you need to get this, and then it comes with instructions on how to add this plugin into Lightroom. As it stands right now in January 29th of 2021, there's no way to directly tether into Lightroom. I've done a lot of tethered headshot shoots, and I had to use Capture One. I like Capture One. It's a great program, but I don't have a workflow in Capture One for how I edit and manage files and backup and all that kind of stuff. I usually just capture everything in there. The client comes over, picks their photos, whatever, and then I move the photos into Lightroom and edit from there. But now I don't have to do that. So I have this installed on my laptop too. So you just need to have Smart Shooter running in the background, and then you just, let me end this capture session here. First, you just got to go into, just really quick, you just got to go into the settings on Smart Shooter, click Lightroom, and then say Enable Lightroom Tethering Connection, and click Install Plugin. And then it'll install the plugin on your computer, and then you come into Lightroom, click Preferences. No, don't click Preferences. Go to File, Plugin Manager. And then what you want, I turned off all of these other settings in the plugin manager in Lightroom and left Smart Shooter 4 on. And then you can tell it where you want to save it in your Finder and everything like that. Again, this is on a Mac. And then you just hit File, Tethered Capture, Start Tethered Capture. I usually click Add to Collection. I have one called EDC. That's where I do all these photos and save them in one spot. And then you can choose, and under Destination, you can choose where you want to have that session saved, and then you click OK. Make sure your camera is on and connected to the computer, and you're off to the races. So like I showed you before, I can just hit same as previous under develop settings, and your crop, your preset, everything you did on the previous photo will be copied onto the next photo. So you're already starting off steps ahead on that next photo, and that way you get a better idea of what your photo is going to look like when it's final. But anyway, I'm going to end the video here. I hope you like this video. I hope it's going to help you. If there's anything that I can help you with by going into a little more detail about what I'm doing here, let me know in the comments, and I will be sure to reply to you. I'm pretty good about responding to comments. If there's anything you see that I could do better, please also let me know that in the comments. But I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.